September 5th, 2025. Ukrainian forces continue their attacks on Russian soldiers using FPV drones. Soldiers who didn't even understand what was happening became targets of the drones one by one. Stay tuned for more. A Russian soldier moving alone in the Andreka area was detected. Looking for a place to hide, he entered an abandoned house. A Ukrainian FPV drone immediately moved in for the strike. The first hit shocked and panicked the soldier, forcing him to flee into a small hut. The second drone attack targeted the hut, and the powerful explosion left the soldier with no chance of survival. A Russian soldier advancing alone in open terrain in the Toretsk region was detected by the 414th Strike UAV Brigade. Unaware of the impending drone attack, the Russian soldier continued on his way, and the FPV drone took action against him. The soldier did not notice the FPV drone until it was completely upon him. The Russian soldier had most likely been left behind by his team or had fled. He was moving toward the destroyed buildings. The FPV drone pilot gradually accelerated. Interestingly, the Russian soldier still hadn't noticed the drone. Another Russian soldier advancing alone along the Crimean coastline became the target of an FPV drone. Having covered a considerable distance, the Russian soldier was exhausted and worn out. The FPV drone finally moved in on the Russian soldier. The soldier noticed the drone but had no time left to fight back. A Ukrainian drone pilot targeted a Russian military vehicle on a logistics route. Although the soldiers quickly fled the vehicle, the primary objective is always to destroy the vehicles. On September 5th, Ukrainian birds of Magyar drone pilots eliminated around 28 Russian soldiers with precise FPV strikes. The Russian troops on the front line were left without logistic support, exhausted and desperate. Unable to put up any resistance, they became easy targets for the drones. The operation not only reduced Russian manpower, but also further demoralized their frontline units. Each strike shows how Ukraine's FPV drone tactics continue to dominate the battlefield, leaving no safe place for Russian forces. The Ukrainian 3rd Assault Brigade's drones targeted a Russian soldier on a motorcycle. The Russian soldier was advancing, unaware of the incoming attack. Russian forces lost military control of the Lyman region. Months of attacks by Ukrainian forces, particularly the Signum drone team, weakened Russian forces in the area. Having lost control of logistical routes, Russian forces suffered heavy losses. Russian military vehicles were destroyed one by FPV drones. Signal jammers were not enough to prevent drone attacks. A Russian soldier attempting to cross the small Vauvcha River near Novopavlivsk was taken out by UAVs of the Ukrainian 37th Marine Brigade. Ukraine's Ram-2X cruise missile struck a Russian military vehicle carrying a tank. Footage of the vehicle advancing in the city of Kadiivka, Luhansk region, shows that the Ukrainian attack was directed at the driver's compartment. A Ukrainian FPV drone pilot pursued a Russian soldier on a motorcycle in the direction of Pocrovsk. When the soldier noticed the drone, he began to flee quickly, but he wasn't fast enough. The FPV drone's next target was a minibus. The soldier managed to escape from the vehicle, but it was completely destroyed. The Ukrainian 68th Jaeger Regiment destroyed Russian military equipment on the Pocrovsk front one by one using drones. These attacks gradually weakened Russian military units and slowed their advance in the region. Ukraine's 40th Coastal Defense Brigade destroyed a Russian infantry boat on the Dnipro River in the Kherson region. An FPV drone attack occurred before the boat's occupants could reach the other side. No Russian soldiers survived. A Ukrainian FPV drone pilot targeted a Russian assault group attempting to breach defensive positions. They couldn't escape. The Ukrainian Signum Battalion continues to destroy Russian military equipment in the Lyman direction. While Russian military satellites on the front line were destroyed, well-camouflaged artillery units were also eliminated. FPV drone pilots, being highly experienced, quickly identified numerous Russian military targets and eliminated them with sudden maneuvers. Ukrainian drone operators from the NGU brigade skillfully flew through forests and shelters to destroy Russian positions in the Belgorod, Kharkiv direction. FPV drone pilots managed to infiltrate Russian trenches that were well hidden and built underground. While Russian soldiers believed they were well protected from drones, FPV drones destroyed these positions one by one. Years of military attack experience gained through the use of drones led to the destruction of numerous Russian trenches. Ukrainian 3rd Tank Brigade, together with the 1st Assault Battalion of the 92nd ABR, used FPV drones to destroy Russian mortar and artillery positions. The strikes were carried out with high precision, targeting the weapons directly in their firing sights. Ukrainian FPV bomber drones of the 5th Assault Brigade carried out precise strikes on Russian military positions in the Crmatsk direction. Explosives were dropped directly on fortified shelters and firing points, leaving the Russian troops unable to hold their ground. The Kramatorsk sector holds critical importance as one of the key defensive hubs in Donetsk, and every successful drone strike weakens Russian to maintain pressure in this direction. With constant FPV drone attacks, Ukrainian forces continue to disrupt enemy fortifications and ensure control over strategically vital terrain. UAV operators affiliated with Ukraine's Odessa 35th Marine Brigade carried out attacks on shelters housing Russian soldiers. FPV drones carrying explosives were deployed against Russian shelters. Russian control in the direction of Kurokova began to weaken. More than 20 shelters were destroyed by FPV drones in this manner. Due to the region being a critical logistics route, Ukrainian forces are relentlessly continuing operations to push back Russian troops and remove them from their positions. Ukrainian kamikaze drones of the GUR carried out a precise strike on Russian radar systems Podlyot and Neboem in occupied Crimea. These advanced radars were a key part of Russia's air defense network, but the attack left them disabled and exposed major vulnerabilities. Each successful strike further weakens Russia's ability to detect and counter Ukrainian aerial operations on the peninsula. On the morning of September 5th, Russian mechanized forces launched an assault north of the village of Robbitine in the Zaporizhzhia region. Two armored groups, consisting of 8 vehicles and around 70 personnel, attempted to break through Ukrainian defensive lines. The attack was met with a powerful response. 7 vehicles, including 3 MT-LBS, 1 tank with a minesweeper, and 3 APCS were destroyed. Another MT-LB struck a mine and, though heavily damaged, managed to retreat from the battlefield. In total, more than 30 Russian troops were neutralized, making this assault one of the most costly in recent weeks, and once again proving Ukraine's to repel large-scale attacks with coordinated firepower. The Ukrainian UAS Regiment Phoenix Border Guards neutralized Russian tanks, unmanned ground vehicles, and infantry. Ukrainian FPV drone pilots, who detected many Russian targets more easily with thermal imaging, eliminated valuable Russian military units, causing serious delays in the region. The Russian forces' failure to take any countermeasures against drones while operating on the front lines is causing them major military losses. The FPV drone pilot first takes out a Russian artillery unit. Then, in open terrain, a T-72 tank becomes the FPV drone's target. The Russian tank's armor protects it from drone attacks on its outer perimeter. However, with repeated attacks, one after another, the Russian tank begins to sustain damage. The Ukrainian 148th Artillery Brigade destroyed Russian howitzers, logistics vehicles, armored vehicles, and enemy troop groups. The offensive in the direction of Velica Novasilka began on September 4th. After reconnaissance drones identified the houses, positions, trenches, and hiding places of Russian troops in the area, kamikaze drone attacks were carried out. September 5th, 2025. Frontline situation. Ukrainian forces have intensified FPV drone operations, halting Russian attempts to advance across several sectors. In recent days, assaults in the Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia, and Luhansk directions were disrupted as kamikaze drones struck infantry, armored vehicles, and supply convoys with precision. The constant pressure from drone strikes has left Russian units unable to regroup or maneuver effectively.